Subscribe to The Honest Critique for current affairs, movie, book, and product reviews. Also, make sure you press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the video series are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily represent those of The Honest Critique and its employees. The following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers. Viewer discretion advised.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode we're recording today. I'm delighted to be joined by Amit Halevi, who is a member of the Knesset. Amit, thank you so much for taking your time and speaking to us. It's an honor hosting you. Firstly, sir, I want to understand how the situation currently is, sir. Especially with the hostage crisis. We saw 2 more hostages being freed today. Yet there are over 200 hostages more left. So what's happening at the government level to actually facilitate this?
Okay, thank you for having me here. Look, the hostages issue is part of the, all the things that we saw in the last 2 weeks about regarding the Hamas organizations. We're talking about actually Nazi organization, nothing less. And I want to start with that. And it relates to all the issues. I mean, the hostages, the war itself, everything. You know that Article 28 of the Fourth Geneva Convention said it very clear that, civilian institutions cannot be the excuse in order for the terrorists to hide behind them and underground those institutions, hospitals, schools, whatever. There are headquarters, there are missiles stores, and those things. And that's what exactly Hamas is presenting right now. And I think we need to be very clear about it and to say that we can do a humanitarian path for anybody that has a human being, assault of a human being, and can get out. But otherwise, we should bomb those institutions accordingly to the international law. And I'm saying it because the Hamas is actually taking advantages, not only the hostages issue, but the fact that Israel, for now being, and I'm very sorry about it, actually does not act according to the international law and bomb all those cover hospitals and schools. And I'm saying it to you now because we are before the operation, the ground operation, and we need to make sure here that our relation and our moral principles are being kept and implemented very, very precisely. And I think this is the main issue now.
Yes, sir. And I can actually, it pains actually to look at the visuals that were unfolding on October 7th. It's horrible to look at those pictures of people being taken not just in hostages, but the level of brutality that Hamas have actually conducted. Today as well, the ministry actually had a briefing with the body cams for a lot of the foreign media who didn't believe what actually has taken place. I just want to understand from you, sir, as someone who has seen a lot of wars in Israel, the level of brutality that you saw, and has it ever happened before in the history of Israel?
The senior assistant of President of the United States, I think her name was Dvorah Schindler, she said it was the horrible attack since the Holocaust. And this is exactly what it is. They burned our babies, they ripped our women, they behead the heads of our soldiers, and those sins that you cannot see as human beings. We are talking about people that not only did those things but also enjoyed and filmed those Nazis activities. And in the first day after actually this horrible massacres, I came to the parliament, to the Israeli parliament, and I put on the table of the parliament actually a copy of the law that the humanity, that the free countries, the free societies did regarding to the Nazis. I mean, in Israel, it's called the law against the Nazis and their partners. And the same thing, I just replaced the word Nazis in the words Hamas. And I think everybody has consciousness and has a little bit human soul must say these things very clear. I mean, those are Nazi, this ideology, and not from today. By the way, one of the major lessons for us, and I think also for India, that suffered also from this radical and murdered Islam. Not all the Muslims, of course, are in this way of thinking and way of behaving, but those radicals that I think very well from Pakistan and other places, we must stop this, to ignore those horrible religious dimension and religious thoughts. I mean, that's what we have. And one of the big mistakes of Israel intelligence, there will be researches and investigations, and all the details will come out later. But the real thing is here, and we know it. I mean, you don't need to do research for it. Our intelligence for dozens of years ignored the ideology of the radical Muslims. They said it's all about money, it's all about materials considerations, it's all about internal fights, and between some different groups inside whatever, Gaza, Hezbollah, Lebanon. No, really no. I mean, one of the conclusions must be take very seriously the religious belief, the Muslims, those Muslims. I mean, the radical Muslims way of thought, not from now. Hassan al-Banna, 100 years ago, Ahmed Yassin, all those murderers, all those radical terrorists. You must listen to these voices. You must understand those voices, and you must tackle and win those voices. That's why I want to say one more thing, sorry. In order to win this radical Islam, in order to get the victory, to be the winner in this type of war, we must have a victory in their concepts, not victory in our concepts, not victory in the Western, in the progressive concepts, victory in their concepts. And victory in their concepts mean that we need, in the end of this war, to take over the land, of Israel, to take over the Gaza Strip, to control Gaza Strip. No more this concept that we can give somebody else with this way of thinking, this Nazis way of this Nazis character, to be the ruler, to be the governor in those areas. And I'm saying it because in the Muslim way of thinking, the Muslim concept, Ard al-Muqaddasa, the Holy Land, this is payment. I mean, this is victory. If you take the land, if you say this is our land, this is something, because the world in their eyes has only one border between Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb, mean the area of Islam and the area of the war. And this can be one step for the free world, and India included in this definition, in order to say to those radical Muslims, we not only will destroy you, but we also take the land, we destroy the ideology, not only the people, but also the ideology. And this is a long way, but we must start today.
We've seen the offensives in Gaza, actually, and we know the imminent result will be a seizure of Gaza. So two things I wanted to ask you. why hasn't been a ground offensive started yet? We have just seen airstrikes being conducted. Will it start from this week onwards, or there is an international pressure? That's why there is imminent stoppage from not going all out in Gaza right now. That's one. And the second, sir, I want to ask you from that perspective that Israel has not controlled Gaza for 16 years or so. After the 2005 actually disengagement. Was this a failure in that way, this attack, that Israel should have controlled Gaza, not left Gaza 2005?
Yes. So I'll start from your second question, with your permission. The answer is yes. I mean, because of that disengagement that happened in 2005, so there's no vacuum. I mean, if somebody here thought that somebody else will take care, we had Prime Minister Rabin, he said, when the Palestinians will take care, it will be without the Supreme Court. Without the Supreme Court, without the civilian, civic organizations, and this type of expressions. This is, I'm sorry, but it was nonsense. I mean, this concept, this misconception, that was a misunderstanding of the area and of the people. So I think the answer is totally yes. By the way, not only in the Gaza Strip, this concept that we actually go back and we give other organizations to take care and to control the area. It happens also in Judea and Samaria. It happens also in Lebanon. Reminding you and your viewers, we had a very important ally with the South Lebanon area army in those times, till 1999, that our Prime Minister Ehud Barak decided to go back, and there were no vacuum. I mean, in this area, the bad guys got in, and I'm talking about Hezbollah, of course, destroyed the country, as they did in Yemen, as they did in Iraq. I mean, the Iranian forces like Hezbollah. And the conclusion is one: no more disengagement, no more giving somebody else to take care of the land of Israel. It's our land. We should take care. Of course, there are people, there are citizens, there are people, okay. So there are many options about the status of the people, but not people as nation. I mean, not people, peoples, yes, but not people. So that's one point. Regarding your first question, of course, it's not, I'm not going to tell here, the operational schedule about when we start to get in or whatever. But in general, I can say that the international pressure is immoral, and I reminded it in the beginning of our conversation. I mean, I said today in the parliament, I said that if Truman and Churchill if they were behave like the international community and the Western community demand us to behave now, I mean, if they were do it then, Hitler was the ruler of Europe till today. Hitler was the ruler of Europe till today. Means, do you imagine that Churchill or Truman think of giving the Germans to take aid trucks into their places, into their bases? It's ridiculous. Do you think they will give them water, whatever? That's ridiculous. I mean, do you think that Truman and Churchill will say that they are not to bomb any the hospital or school that the headquarters of the Germans are beyond and are below, the German industry that was underground? Those citizens, gentlemen, the Churchill and Truman bombed daily basis, thousands of bombs. There were killed hundreds of thousands of citizens, women, elderly, kids, whatever. And that was proportionality. It was in proportion to the evil, to the unbelievable evil, to the horrible evil of the Nazis in that time. And more than that, I will tell you, Nuremberg rules that were set by Truman and by Churchill afterwards, in their inspiration, in their instructions, actually, said exactly this thing. I mean, they said that nobody can be hidden, nobody can hide below a fake citizen, a fake civic institution. And what we see here is international pressure that actually undoubtedly cause us also to be, to slow our operation, and that's very, very bad, very, very bad, very, very ashamed for us. I mean, also.
But on the larger level, I can understand that giving out operational detail, of course, I wouldn't want that as well. But one of the confusion has been the Prime Minister, when he comes out, he hasn't clearly mentioned of what the end result would look like. But is there an end result where we see a complete siege of Gaza with the Hamas being completely destroyed?
Look, myself and more than 20 parliament members from the coalition, yes, there are more, but from the coalition, in the first day of the war, we declare very clearly that there are should be two targets of the war, and both of them are possible. One is full destruction of Hamas. It's possible. Maybe it will take more time than we think, but it's possible. By the way, it's possible if we behave accordingly to the international law, unlike what we're doing now. No humanitarian aid. It was embarrassed to hear the President of the United States saying yesterday that he asked the Hamas not to take the aid from the civilians, if it was not from the civilians there, if it was not so sad, it was a joke. I mean, what do you think? The Hamas are working in the White House. What do you think? So if this one goal can be and must be implemented, this total destruction of the Hamas organization, branches, infrastructure, people, whoever. And the second is, yes, from my point of view, and more than 20 parliament members, is to take over the Gaza Strip under our governor, under control. Yes. If it's possible, yes. Okay, there will be I'm not saying there are 2 million people there. And I want to mention you also, those 2 million people, unlike the President of the United States has declared, has said, unlike what he said, those 2 million, 1.5 million of them were Hamas students. I mean, they were educated on the Hamas ideology more than 16, 17 years since Hamas occupied very cruelly way the Gaza Strip. And year before, by the way, in 2006, they voted for him. I mean, the elderly there, they voted for him. So we are talking about 2 million people. People must know you have more than 30,000 that are terrorists. There are almost 300,000 that directly assist them, directly help them in the direct war activities against Israel, and take all the rest. I mean, all their families and all the rest that, as I said, voted for them, supported them all over the years. And in that horrible Saturday 2 weeks ago, there were, it's hard even to say it, there were kids 10 years old, 14 years old, that participated in those Nazis activities that cut off the heads of the heads of kids, of children. They were, the Be'eri people from the kibbutz in south, near Gaza. They called me and they told me, because I tell this thing to President Biden via the media, and they told me, 12 years old kids were in our kibbutz, and they massacred, they raped the women. They were part of those horrible Nazis activities. So that's the people, and we need to take over. We need to take care that if there will be people there, nobody will get any more the Hamas educational system books or education in general, and that should be the end. If you ask me if that will be the end, not should be the end, from in my eyes and many Israelis, I cannot tell you. We are under international pressure, and I hope our leadership will go in this direction, but I'm not sure about it.
I have a couple of last questions, and one of them is actually about what you mentioned, and it's interesting because it's correct, because what you mentioned is absolutely what even one of the UN agencies have mentioned. Their own fuel and medical supplies have been stolen by Hamas, which were kept for civilians actually, and the humanitarian aid has constantly been stolen by Hamas terrorists. And this is what actually brings me to this question that a lot of international media, even a lot of groups in India as well, have mentioned that the Palestinians actually, or the Gazans there actually, have suffered from the airstrikes that Israelis are conducting. And some of them are actually taken hostage and used as human shield by Hamas. If you could talk a little bit about how Hamas has also been responsible for the death of the Gazans more than how Israel has been, and all the allegations of Israelis actually killing Gazans actually, and not allowing them to leave their buildings, or not giving them proper warnings before the airstrikes.
Hamas, first of all, is the occupier of Gaza Strip, and since 2007, he is a cruel occupier. Yes, that's first of all the first historical fact in this issue that you mentioned. Secondly, of course, he murdered people there. That's the way of life of this organization. Not only for the Jews, also for the people itself. And more than that, I can tell you, if you see the immigrants, the immigrants balance in the Gaza Strip in the last years, you can see that many young people are leaving. I mean, they left over the last 10 years through Egypt to Turkey, through Egypt to in many ways. I mean, if today there will be opportunity to many people there to get out from to get rid the Hamas authority, of course they will do it. Yes, I tell you more than that. Even in the Palestinian Authority cities like Ramallah, Shechem, Jenin, where if you see the polls that have been published from time to time, you can see that more than 60% don't want the Palestinian Authority, because their forces are again thwarting the population there. And I'll tell you what, all these type of terror organizations like the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, Hezbollah, mostly they do two things. One is terror and delegitimization of Israel and other free countries. We are only the little Satan. The big Satan is the United States and so forth. That's one thing they do. And the other thing is corruption. I mean, it's not only about the humanitarian aid that they took it yesterday for their own interest and necessaries, but it's daily basis. I mean, the budget of Hamas. Did you see there a great university? Did you see there a medicine, medicine inventions or something? No. Maybe now you can see 33 hospitals. Yes, because those are hospitals. That's why you can see on 2 and 2 acres. You can see now 30 hospitals. Now those are fake hospitals. But usually you can see that Hamas take all the money that he got over the years every year. We're talking about billions, yes, and he used it for two things: corruptions, yes, the villas, the cars, and the boats that all the leaders, yes, the Shahid, okay, by themselves they are billionaires. Yahya Sinwar, yes, he's a billionaire. The same thing the others from one side, and the other side it's anti-Israeli operations. I mean, the money is used for anti-Israeli activities. It's the same thing in Hezbollah. It's the same thing with Hamas, and it's the same thing with the Palestinian Authority. And we need to get up tomorrow morning, to wake tomorrow morning, to understand this reality, and to stop. I mean, the free world, the modern states, to stop this stop this fake organizations that doing only for themselves and for terror.
But also, if you look at this, it's interesting because even Israel opened the Erez crossing just 1 week before the attack took place and allowed the Gazans to come and work, actually, which was actually initially closed because of protests. So even Israel did not perceive this threat of or even perceived but allowed the Gazans to come and work when the same people actually, if not the same people, but some of them actually would have come and attack the kibbutz on the following week.
Shame on us. Yes, okay, you're right. By the way, I mean, but this is exactly the picture. I mean, the Israeli people are giving their hands for peace and for doing good to the people. Every Israeli Arab that lives here, I mean, he full of blast from what Israel did to this area, flourishing this desert and giving help and better the world, and that's what we're doing. I mean, this is our heritage. This is this is the character of our nation. But as you see, those people are exactly the opposite. I mean, they came in. One of them, Said, was actually went house after house. He knew the kibbutz very well because he worked there for 25 years. Yes, he could be the babysitter during the days when he worked there. But now he murdered and beheaded the heads of babysitters. 20 babies of the babies. 20 babies were in one room. All of them, their hands are tied. All of them were tied, and those 20, part of them were burned, part of them were shot, and part of them were their head were cut off from their bodies. I mean, these are the people. So we did a big mistake. First, that we considered the materials considerations, the materials aspect as a major one in their way of thinking, in their thoughts. Big mistake. The radical Muslims are not there. I mean, they. I don't think this is religion. Yes, I mean, they are not religious in my eyes. And many friends in Saudi Arabia and other places that sent me messages, text messages. They are not religious. This is not religion. They are infidel. Yes, but in their way of thinking, in their religious concept, that's exactly what they think they are obeyed to do. So we need to take it very seriously and stop thinking in only in economic considerations. And we did it. You're right. We did it, and we of course regret. It was one of the big mistakes of. It was 2 years ago in the former government, and as you said, by the way, not all of them, but many of them were part of this massacred, horrible event. So I hope we all learned the lesson, and all the free societies like India and Israel that tackle the terror will understand much better the infrastructure, the terms of those of this ideology, and we should take care in a different ways.
So the last thing that I actually kept for the end, because I didn't want to bring politics while we're discussing this horrific attacks. One of the things that actually the entire international media is criticizing is the Prime Minister's oversight, rather, to not look at this security issue. And especially Prime Minister Netanyahu has been probably recognized as a person who brings security to the table, because he famously mentioned that he can promise security to every Israeli. And what we've seen in the last week, a lot of media organizations and even some of the organizations sitting in Israel as well have reported that it was Prime Minister's oversight, that there was judicial reforms, there were protests, there was a certain amount of cohesion going in the cabinet. And even currently, if you look as well, the opposition, Yair Lapid's party actually mentioned that they don't want to join the cabinet because of certain fractions that they don't agree with. and he wanted a certain war cabinet which should be smaller in size. So, with all these divisions and oversights, it was the fact that the prime minister actually did not look beyond the party politics and the security. So, would you like to address that thing a little bit for the audience? Because this is going on because this is one conversation I know that it's not the right time to have, but I felt that to address this would be a good time.
Look, our our coalition was built by the right-wing parties, not only because that was the majority of the people that voted for it, but also because, unfortunately, for many years, people in the left parties here actually was made like a BDS about Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't know what will be the future, the political future of Israel. I'm sure there will be changes, not only because a personal issue or this person or other person. In general, it was this. What happened to us must bring our people to many conclusions. So I think also the political map will be changed. But again, I can tell you from historical point of view, the big mistakes were done by the left party that in Lebanon, in the Oslo Agreement, in Lebanon, by Barack government in 1999, and in the disengagement in 2005. All those things were actually created those black holes that we saw, this black hole that we saw in that Saturday. But of course, we are the coalition now, and Netanyahu is the prime minister. And over those last, in the last 30 years, since 1996 till now, I mean, he was prime minister many years. And of course, we all, by the way, including me, we're all responsible that for the fact that this concept, even that we didn't create it, it was in our time, and we should think about different way. By the way, he did it in Syria. In Syria, he didn't give this those Torah organization to be developed, but in Lebanon and Gaza and the Palestinian Authority, we must change the rules of the game. Netanyahu tried to do it in a way where what he did with those 4 agreements of Abraham Accords, but it's not enough. As we saw, it's not enough. We should have a different way of, and it's not only Netanyahu. I must say, we have here all the heads of the IDF and the security system in Israel. All those things that I said here in your respectable program, video regarding also the head of the security and the defense system that many years are in the same concept that actually designed all our arguments, and this is a defense concept. This is a concept regarding the radical Muslims. All those things were there, and we must change our concept. And I hope that not only the political system, also in the security system and many other systems in Israel, if not tomorrow morning, but for our children, our grandchildren, I hope that we have a new generation that will think very much more and in depth, a way of thinking, not only to see the surface, because that's what led us to this horrible day, to understand the dangers, to understand very deeply our enemies. And if we want that the good will win the bad, that there will be victory of the goodness, there will be victory of the peace, of the justice, it must be part of it is to understand this ideology, the evil, and to win it. We didn't do it enough, and I hope we will do it from now on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time. For all the viewers who are watching this, I want to tell you that it's 12:30 a.m. there in Israel, and you had a really busy day in the Knesset. You attended the Knesset, and you're here after this busy day. I'm really honored to host you, and thank you so much. And if you would like to say something for our Indian audience who are actually listening to this and have been supporting Israel from day one.
Yes, I want to thank you for your support. I think that if you stand with Israel, you stand with the justice, you stand with the morality. And I want to thank your Prime Minister Modi about his announcement that support our people. And I hope that we will keep our cooperation, our ally, because the Indian people and the Jewish people has a lot in common. We have common values, and we have also common interests, and we need to be together and to fight together for a better world. So thank you very much again, and hope to see you in better opportunities. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.